Welcome back to another episode of Sobering and Lisa Do Wine and Crime. On this episode, Roswell UFO crash truth after 74 years. We discuss subject matters that involve murder and other dark themes that may not be suitable for all our listeners.
Before we get right into the show, we just have a few reminders. Our first reminder is that we will be launching our Patreon membership platform very, very soon, and our Sobering and Lisa Patreon will be offering our So Squad monthly rewards, meet and greets, one-on-one Zooms, and perks exclusive only to our subscribers.
And last but not least, Sobering and Lisa Do Wine and Crime is the weekly podcast that airs each Wednesday on Podbean at 10 p.m. GMT, 6 p.m. EST and 3 p.m. PST. We are also available to listen to on Spotify and YouTube. Links to our Spotify and YouTube channels can be found on our official Twitter at Sobering and Lisa and Instagram at Sobering and Lisa.
Now on to a few shout-outs before we get on with the episode and slug down some more true crime wine. I want to give a very, very quick hello to Jeremiah 55181480, Aaron Carter New, and Toby Foster 13 for your support and following on Twitter.
And last but certainly not least, at Connor Daniel 20, at IDN Aaron 95X, and at True Crime Live UK. Also, if you're not a Podbean member, sign up today, and if you enjoy our content, please do tip us. Every little counts, and again, make sure to add us on Twitter and Instagram.
Welcome back, So Squad, to another episode of Sobering and Lisa. Coming up on the episode, we'll be focusing our attention on the outer limits, that segment of the atmosphere that's situated between time and space. A lot can be said about what we cannot see and what we cannot hear, and to make any real assumption without credible evidence would be negligent and ignorant on our part. Much of this episode will be narrated by my co-host. A little known fact about Lisa Appleton is that her forte is the unexplained and extraterrestrial intelligence. I am a skeptic, and due to my interest lying outside of the unknown, I have never really investigated or delved into the subject matter. However, in this episode we're discussing the death of Luis Barroso Fernandez, life forms on other planets, and fact versus fiction of extraterrestrial intelligence.
On December the 16th, I alleged as fact that Stephen M. Greer was the gospel for everything extraterrestrial. I stand corrected, and when I reference Mr. Greer throughout this episode, I must stress that the information gathered in favour of Mr. Greer is alleged and anything against is in conversation. Using Wikipedia as a source is a good starting block to build from. However, using it as a factual means to produce a show or provide solid evidence in support of a case is negligent and irresponsible. In my naivety, I believed that what is available on Wikipedia was vetted before it was uploaded, but Wikipedia can be edited by anyone at any time. This means that any information it contains at any particular time could possibly be vandalism, a work in progress, or just plain wrong. Additionally, many of the editors use the platform for personal interest or revenge. In many cases, if a person doesn't like a narrative or public figure, the information uploaded will be flagged. There is a small community who then work together to sabotage the page and/or its information. Due to these reasons alone, it is not a website that should be used for academic purposes, and this sentiment has been supported even by The Guardian. Now I want to correct my information on Dr. Stephen Greer. I promise it won't take long.
Dr. Stephen Greer is a North Carolina retired physician who was born on June 28, 1955, and stated he was inspired to study ufology after he claimed to have seen an unidentified flying object at close range when he was 8 years old. Stephen Greer, however, will allegedly say just about anything in respect to what the military refers to as unidentified aerial phenomena for a price. Greer also offers training to just about anyone in his knowledge of the close encounters of the fifth kind and contact protocols, but again, his advice and training comes at a cost. First, let's discuss his 2013 documentary based upon his book, Hidden Truth, Forbidden Knowledge. Both book and documentary are factually incorrect and reveal unsubstantiated evidence about top secret projects and propulsion techniques. The book and documentary also use subjects that have since been proven to have changed their stories on several occasions, and as the Hollywood Reporter noted, to take them serious would be short-sighted, because they look nutso by association. They concluded that no sighting anecdote generates enough narrative momentum to dent viewers' skepticism. Additionally, on January 27, 2015, Greer led an expedition at Rivera Beach on Florida's East Coast. Greer's official website stated that the week-long expedition was a tuition course, and the tuition course fee was between $2,500 to $3,500, depending on the facility costs. The website explained that all the ambassadors to the universe trainings are similar. All participants are expected to complete and return a liability release, confidentiality agreement, and ambassador's agreement, which will be sent after they have paid and registered. Back to January 27, 2015. Upon the completion of the course, Greer claimed that during his expedition he had summoned not one, but 2 UFOs.
Greer, whose Wikipedia page claims he has over 3,000 confirmed reports of UFO sightings, which is linked to a source that breaches Wikipedia's inclusion citations, has since uploaded his alleged sightings onto his YouTube channel. This starts with one bright orange light appearing off the coast, and Greer can be heard directing a participant to turn off your night scope.
Please note, listeners, that night scope would assist in detecting low visibility aircraft in the vicinity if there was one.
Thereafter, a second light appears off the coast to the left of the first light. Greer immediately confirms to his students that these are indeed UFOs. Greer, who insisted on the video for his students to turn off their night scopes, then informs his class he is using a night scope, and he exclaims, "There's no smoke, there's no trails. These are not flares," he continues. "They were waiting for us to arrive." A few seconds later, Greer states, "Let's welcome the beings on board to join us in meditation. That is such a beautiful colour. See, you'll never forget that colour." This is huge. One participant can allegedly be heard saying, "Never saw a 10-inch before. It must hurt." Before Greer agrees, yes, this is a major event. At the 3-minute 32-second mark, the first light disappears.
The light Lisa is referring to fades during its slow but obvious altitude decline.
Greer then states that they've stayed pretty much the same altitude, though let's invite them to come as close as they can. As his students wait for their close encounter at the 4:11 mark, the second light dissipates. Greer quickly states, "Oh, that's gone into the ocean. See what it did?"
I must highlight that our producers had a specialist look at the footage, and both the ufologist and the video editor have agreed that the video clearly shows the second light go out obviously above the water as it fades, Additionally, the ufologist states that the video isn't like anything he has seen or studied, stating, "Watching this YouTube clip is like watching Steven Spielberg's E.T. on an asylum's film budget. After reviewing 100,000 photos, videos, reports and statements, nothing I've reviewed concerning UFOs looks like flares." The video editor who reviewed the footage added, "Both lights fade out. This type of pixelation comes from a light source. I have no experience in UFOs, but will have to agree with the ufologist's statement. They look like flares."
Greer concludes his video by stating, "Now, the way that you know that there's not something like a flare, first of all, it didn't shoot up and then come down. The video then fades out. We then see a series of other photos and videos of the same event tagged onto the end of the video."
Greer, who didn't respond to our producer's emails, failed to tell his students and didn't include the video that at 9:11 p.m. on January 27, 2015, a Beech 76 Duchess registered N11OSU and owned by Aviator College was recorded flying at 85 miles an hour off Vero Beach. This is considerably slower than the aircraft's normal cruising speed, and it's feasible that at that speed it would allow the aircrew to deploy a parachute, flares, or some other illumination device. After the phenomena, the aircraft took off immediately and returned to the airport in Fort Pierce. There was no reason for it to be in that airspace at that time or flying at that speed. The bottom line is that the lights seen in Greer's video are coming from a registered aircraft in flight. I must also note that CNN later reported that the registered craft has since received a loan between $350,000 and $1 million under the federal government's coronavirus relief paycheck protection program, and another aircraft listed to Harry Ben Aviator was also forced to land on a section of Interstate 95 in Florida on January the 30th, 2017 after running out of fuel. Allegedly, Greer was also running a $2,500 to $3,500 course on that day as well.
So what does this all mean? Well, according to Greer, who founded the non-profit Centre for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence, CSETI, aliens are just like in the movies. Let's open room 101. Greer's organisation, which has failed to file on IRS form 990 and or 990EZ, runs 6-week-long research expeditions. His organisation, whose ruling year began in 1992, has trained approximately 460 individuals to do research in their home locations. Expeditions include nighttime viewing of the sky and recording of anonymous events with subsequent evaluation by group discussions and interviews with military, scientific and corporate witnesses and whistleblowers. And to date, the course has only had one caught-on-camera hit, which has been assessed as being flares dropped from a Beech 76 Duchess. Additionally, CSETI expenses are a whopping $180,025, and the company's revenue totals $158,787.
Our producer asked several UFO specialists what type of damage such videos can do to the UFO community, and this is what Dr. Stephen Leverager had to say. CSETI isn't an official outlet for what is truly out there. The organisation has not appeared on the IRS Business Master File in months. The YouTube video is exceptionally damaging and can warrant the disbelievers to disbelieve more. There are a lot of so-called specialists, and as it's not regulated industry, anyone can use that label. Much of the lack of the regulation is because the government do not embrace ufology as an academic or scientific field of study, and is instead considered to be a pseudoscience, a term that classifies an argument that are claimed to exemplify the methods and principles of science, but do not in fact adhere to an appropriate scientific method, lack supporting evidence, plausibility, or otherwise lack of scientific status. However, this is where the subject becomes much, much darker, and in 1973, a UFO allegedly shot and killed a farmer named Luis Barroso Fernandez.
The farmer Lewis claimed before his death that before being shot by aliens, he could hear a strange buzzing sound. It sounded as if it was something in a drawer that had accidentally been switched on. When searching the sky, he spotted an unknown object before the attack a few miles outside the town of Quixada, Brazil. 2 students, military personnel, and a local radio broadcaster also reported seeing the UFO over the city on the same date, and also stated that the buzzing sounded just like a battery-powered toy. According to the farmer, the flying disc landed 100 feet away from him in 1973, and 2 aliens emerged, with one holding a torch. The unknown life force zapped him and his donkey before leaving them both paralysed.
The farmer was discovered shaking by a cowboy, and after seeking medical attention, the doctor prescribed him an anti-allergy drug. A few days later, the farmer became gravely sick and his hair began turning grey before he had a lapse of memory. This was followed by a slow regress in memory, often linked to Alzheimer's. In April 1993, the farmer eventually lost his battle and passed away.
Philip Mantle, a UFO specialist, later said, Luis Barroso Fernandez may be the first person ever to be killed after his encounter with a UFO. But what other alien encounters are on record that can support the theory of life on other planets? Well, a medium who I briefly spoke to in December and our producer has since spoken with claims that aliens do exist and do walk among us. The medium has had an exceptional life and has faced many difficult roads, from becoming homeless at a young age and changing her name after a story was run in 1994 in a popular USA tabloid. Aliens aren't what we think they are, and they are really angels that care for us and help us through our struggles. I use crystals and meditation to have a personal and sexual relation with my guide, who lives on an astral plane and visits me daily. She added, I first discovered I had this ability in 1993 when I was sleeping on the streets and I was sharing my food with rats. I was covered in my boxes and a bright light came down and I felt completely at peace. I wasn't cold, but hot, and I could see bright lights and strange tools that were coming down, like laser beams, and I had an explosive orgasm I had never felt before. I awoke and I was at the foot of church steps. I was naked and a man was helping me up. I was scared and went to the hospital, and the doctors said the markings on me they had never seen before. And I was so scared when they called the man in black and I ran away. The next time it happened, I awoke and I had the ability to mind read, and this allowed me to get back onto my feet and buy a room in a complex. Then it happened again, but these creatures were beautiful, and when I awoke, I had been gone a week. This time, however, I had full knowledge and I was now exceptionally creative, and I can foretell many things. Just ask me anything at all. Isn't your father a banker? The show's producer declined to answer and thanked the source for her time. The source was not paid to take part in Sobrin and Lisa.
One of the most important UFO incidents to have occurred happened on the 7th of July 1947, around 75 miles north of the town of Roswell in New Mexico. Debris from a highly classified project used by the US Army Air Force detected atomic bomb tests in the Soviet Union was recovered from a ranch after being reported by a ranch worker, William Brazel. Intrigued by the idea of flying saucers, Brazel gathered some of the debris and went to Roswell, where he told the sheriff, George Wilcox, about his find. According to reports, he whispered kind of something confidential like. Wilcox immediately reported the encounter to the USAAF base at Roswell, which promptly sent agents to visit his ranch, but not before the press picked up on the story.
According to media outlets, on 8th of July 1947, Roswell Army Airfield, RAAF, it issued a press release stating that a flying disc had crashed on a ranch near Roswell during a powerful storm. Later in the day, as government scientists arrived in the area, the story appeared to change. A press conference was held, and it was stated instead that a weather balloon had crashed and not a UFO. Reporters were shown debris said to be taken from the crash area, such as foil, rubber and wood, which appeared to confirm that the object had been a weather balloon. But after initially suggesting that Brazil's debris had come from a UFO, the Roswell's Daily Record reported a correction, which included the USAAF statement that it was a weather balloon that had been found at the site. Brazil later went on record to say that he regretted the publicity that his misidentification had caused. According to the official accounts, the debris Brazil found came from a balloon that was part of an experimental technology trial codenamed Project Mogul. Nevertheless, several other people at the time claimed to have seen debris scattered over a wide area, and at least one person reported seeing a blazing aircraft in the sky shortly before it crashed. But the key accounts came from a former mortician, Glenn Dennis, who claimed that a friend who worked as a nurse at the Roswell Army Airfield had accidentally walked into an examination room where doctors were bent over the bodies of three creatures that looked like aliens. They apparently resembled humans, but with small bodies, spindly arms and giant bald heads. In 1995, Ray Santilli, a London-based entrepreneur, released footage of an alien autopsy performed in Roswell in 1947. Experts immediately ridiculed the footage as a hoax, and he admitted years later that it was almost entirely fake. Nevertheless, Santilli insisted real footage existed, but due to its poor condition, he had been forced to recreate it, backing up what Dr. Stephen Levager said to our producers. It's people who add fuel to the fire by faking UFOs and alien sightings that makes the disbelievers disbelieve more.
So after 74 years, what is the truth, Lisa?
Well, according to John and Jessie Marshall, they recently discovered a handwritten notebook belonging to their grandfather, Army Intelligence Officer Major Jesse Marshall, and they confirmed that a UFO did indeed crash and their grandfather was the fall guy. According to the logbook, it was discovered the debris was not made by a human hand and that the strange foil could not be cut or burnt or even wrinkled. When Marshall examined the material, he alleged there was alien writing etched into the fabric, and there were miles of glass fibres and fibre optics. So to conclude, using the words of Army Intelligence Officer Major Jesse Marshall, the belief that we are alone in the world is as preposterous as a weather balloon crashing in Roswell.
Wow, okay. We've certainly ended the episode on a striking high, considering we began by highlighting many of the inaccuracies on Greer's Wikipedia. So what did Project Mogul say on the Roswell case?
Project Mogul was a classified project at the time and has since been declassified. What is known is that Project Mogul wasn't fully connected to Roswell until 1994, when the normally secretive National Security Agency finally published an in-depth report refuting all claims of a conspiracy at the Roswell site. A second report released in 1997 concluded that reports of alien bodies actually related to life-sized anthropomorphic test dummies, which raises more questions than answers and also backs up what Ray Santilli had said. Project Mogul was simply designed to detect sound waves in the upper atmosphere from Soviet atom bomb tests by flying microphones on trains of balloons of high altitude. Although the technology was quickly superseded, it remained secret for more than 20 years after the event.
That's extremely interesting data. Well, just to play devil's advocate with you, Mulder.
Okay, Scully, what are you going to say to try and discredit life on Mars?
Looking at the UFO data, in accordance with sightings from both sides of the Atlantic, there is a direct correlation between when the popular films involving aliens and the real-world UFO sightings occur. In 1996, there were 609 UFO sightings across the UK, significantly more than the years just before and after. This was also at the same time that Will Smith's movie Independence Day and Tim Burton's Mars Attack were in the forefront of the public's imagination. In 1993, when Stephen King's The Tommyknockers miniseries was broadcast again, according to official UFO data, there was a peak in sightings. And coincidentally, our source had her first experience with aliens around about the same time of the TV show's broadcast. Around about the same time of the Roswell crash, H.G. Wells' Things to Come was also extremely popular. To name just a few sci-fi films that have been released that year, which could explain the public's interest in extraterrestrial life forms. Do you think that could be possible?
Welcome to a colossal question, but anything is possible. But it would be very naive to think we were the only people to live in this solar system and the universe, wouldn't it? And great aside, researchers do insist that other life forms are in existence, and the clouds could definitely confirm that. The truth is often stranger than fiction, and I'm sure one day, very soon, all our questions will be answered.